just came down. The Seahawks made the selection. There was speculation as to whether or not they'd keep that pick, if they would end up moving it in a trade. Instead, they keep it, and they go for Grey Zabel, the offensive lineman from North Dakota State. And if you're not a football fan, this is why it matters, because the offensive line was easily the biggest position of need for that team, and the Hawks address it in a really awesome way. I mean, Grey Zabel, regardless of where you're picking, whether you're picking 5th or 15th or whatever it is, he's certainly one of the best offensive linemen available. So to be able to do that and get a player of his caliber is something really special. So this is a pick that we have a poll on my X page at Nico Tamurian that should be really celebrated. Here's the thing. You could have gone a lot of different directions with that pick, okay? You could have gone wide receiver to help replace some of the production lost by trading DK Metcalf. You could have gone defensive secondary, linebacker, defensive line, edge rusher, because we know Mike Macdonald is a genius on defense. And so when you do that kind of move, you know, you're giving him another weapon to play with. But they didn't overthink it. And I think that's the key here. They didn't overthink it. They took the best player available at the most prevalent position of need, the interior of that offensive line. Let's be honest about it here. These guys are all pros, but that was a huge area of need for this Seahawks team. Think about it this way. The run game could not get going. The protection for Geno Smith at the time, now Sam Darnold, was mediocre at best. And that's why we talked often last season on the KOMO Sports End Zone about how the fact that Geno was throwing for such good numbers last year was a marvel given the lack of protection that he had. Okay, so the Seahawks addressed that. And we know, we saw it in Minnesota last year, Sam Darnold is at his best when he's not under duress, especially not constantly. So the Seahawks address that. They get Grey Zabel, 6'6", 315 pounds, big, mean offensive lineman from North Dakota State. So this is the kind of pick, it's the highest pick on a guard that the Seahawks have done since, get this, Steve Hutchinson, okay? Hall of Famer. Big deal here. I'm not saying that Gray is a future Hall of Famer. Maybe he is. You never know. But it's the fact that they finally addressed this, because we had heard 12s constantly lament John Schneider's lack of investment at the position. We had heard them say, you know, look at these teams that you're putting out there. Okay, you have Charles Cross at the tackle spot. He's been awesome. Abe Lucas, when healthy at the other tackle spots, has been great. But boy, oh boy, the interior has been a mess. And so by drafting Grey Zabel, it's no longer a mess. By any projection, it's no longer a mess. So this is a really big deal for the Seahawks. You can certainly let us know in the comments, the like button, whatever it is, how you feel about this pick. But the reality is, simply put, the Seahawks nailed it. Based on all the information we have at this moment, the Seahawks nailed this pick. And I think that's important to take stock in that. You know, I'll admit, I didn't think they were going to do it. I recognized that offensive line was a position of need, but given their past, I didn't think that they would address the line. I thought they might go receiver. I actually, in an article at KOMOnews.com, projected they would take Nick Immanwari, the safety from South Carolina, because of how versatile he would be in Mike Macdonald's defense. But again, they didn't overthink it. They simplified it. They took the most important position of need, and they nailed it with the best available option. Grey Zabel, North Dakota State. This is a guy that was part of a history-making offensive line with North Dakota State in 2021, and his teammate was Jalen Sundell, who is currently on the Seahawks. We're going to give you a little bit of a look at the Virginia Mason Athletic Center. We're going to set, there we go. So I think this is a really great pick for the Hawks. I think this is something that they can really build on. And the beauty of it, the real beauty of this pick, is the fact that, yes, this is their only first rounder, but ultimately you're talking about having 2 in the second round, number 50 and 52. Then you have 2 in the third round, 82, 92. Those are the spots where you're going to be able to address maybe even further on the offensive line, but certainly some of those defensive weapons we talked about. Certainly you're talking about addressing wide receiver position. And we kind of thought they might do that with the receiver from the standpoint of the prospects available, but I thought they also could do that at offensive line, so be surprised if they further invest in the position. One of the things about the Seahawks and not investing in the offensive line in the past was the idea that they didn't want to pay a veteran a ton of money at that spot. Well, you're paying guys in rookie deals now. And so that's what we're seeing with Charles Cross, where they're currently in negotiations to extend him past this rookie deal. So any way you look at it, based on the information we have right now, based on how many picks that they have coming up, this is a real win for the Seahawks. And certainly, we're going to talk more about this. You can watch the rest of the first round on KOMO News. You can take a further look at our draft outlook in the KOMO Sports End Zone. We were asking the question there, will they draft a quarterback? that's still on the table here, guys. They still have 9 more picks to go in this draft. We never thought they would use a first-round pick on that position, but it's possible moving forward they use one of those picks on that. So this is a really good start to what we call a new chapter for this franchise, okay? When you really look at it, the Seahawks have 10 picks. They have that extra second rounder, that after third rounder, because of trading DK Metcalf, because of trading Geno Smith. And so how they, replace guys like that, especially DK, but how you move forward from that depends on how you use these draft picks. And how the Seahawks did it, at least for this first rounder, that they were granted anyway besides that trade, is, again, looking at the most glaring issue from last year, not ignoring it, oversimplifying this thing and just doing it. And I think that's welcome news to everybody out there. Again, you can vote on X at Nico Tamuri, and we have a poll there for you. And I think that right now the winning vote is how fans love that they address the offensive line. And not just that they address the offensive line, it's that they did so with Grey Zabel. If you read the mock drafts, which I am a proponent that you don't really should put too much stock into those, but there's a reason that so many of the mock drafts out there had Grey Zabel going to the Seahawks. He's just a perfect fit for what they need. He's a perfect fit for what they want to do. And so I believe when you put Grey Zabel in the middle of that line, let's assume Abe Lucas is healthy at right tackle. Charles Cross is a game breaker at left tackle. I wouldn't be surprised if they had a little bit more help in the interior. But by and large, I wouldn't be surprised if you see a huge jump from Kenneth Walker III this offseason into next season. I think that you take a look at what he's capable of, but then look at what the line he was trying to run behind in 2024. And I think that really the sky's the limit. This is a game changer for the Seahawks offense, which we already knew was going to be new under Clint Kubiak. We already knew it was going to be really different when you think about it from the perspective that it's going to be a whole new run-first attitude compared at least to what we saw in 2024 when Ryan Grubb wanted to pass the ball all those times. Let's take a little bit of more of a look here at the VMAC. Players just reported, and of course you love to see the Super Bowl banner there. So it's kind of like the calm after a hard day of work for the Seahawks. So there you have it. It is Grey Zabel, and it is going to the Seahawks. And it is a pick that so many fans are happy about, and I think that is a total game changer for that offense. Let's see what they do. When you don't really rate a draft class until you have the complete picture. But this was the simple pick. It was the easy pick. It was the best pick. And now we see how the Hawks move forward from this position. We're going to be live on KOMO News all night. That's going to be a lot of fun. So we're here at the Seahawks headquarters. As soon as the draft on KOMO is over, we're going to be talking with head coach Mike McDonald. We're going to be talking with general manager John Schneider. They're not going to give us too many tips about what they're doing with those 4 picks tomorrow, but we can get a better understanding for why they went with guard in this position. I think it's all the reasons we just said, right? It's the player, it's the need, it's all that stuff. But you're also going to get a real inside look at what their meetings with Zabel were like, what it was like to talk with him, Zoom calls, in person, at the combine, whatever it might be. And I think that's going to be even more telling for 12s to see what kind of player they're going to get. So this is a really exciting time at the VMAC. Really a lot of fun. I think it'll be certainly something special. It's not a flashy pick. It's not shadeur standards. It's not Travis Hunter. But it's something that will, I believe, in the trenches, the unseen stuff, the stuff that doesn't show up on the stat sheet, it's going to be something that is a real difference for this team. So I think it's something to really enjoy, and I think that we'll see what they do with the rest of this, but I think overall you can't do much better for where the Hawks were at number 18. We're going to talk more about this on KOMO News after the draft.